I believe, passed away. Was it yesterday or the day before? Saturday. Saturday. I'm sorry. Saturday. And then Mark Irvin's sister-in-law, Melanie, passed away unexpectedly on Saturday, I believe. Okay, so keep those families in your thoughts. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. Do we have folks for our pledge?
We do. We have two Grissom students here. Would you like for us to?
Sure, come on over to the. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
My name's Emily.
Hi, Emily.
I'm from Grissom Elementary. I've been there for 8 years.
Wow.
Great, thank you.
My name is Markevius Shannon.
What grade you're in?
I'm a second.
And today's his birthday.
Oh. Well, Miss Charles,
Yes.
should we sing happy birthday?
I think would that be okay? He says yes.
Okay. Well,
Okay, you ready?
on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Markevius. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Markevius. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much.
Please be seated. Thank you. Oh, Emily, Markevius, do you guys want to get your certificates? Come on out for just a second. The other one. There was a third one.
There's one more in there.
Markevius, I have yours. Let me try.
Here it is, here.
Mr. Heater was hiding in front.
I was. Sorry.
Thank you. Hey, Markevius, how old are you today? 8.
Awesome.
I remember 8. It's a great year.
Good for you. Good for you.
Is that what he said?
At your age, remember anything.
Okay. Oh, can we do a roll call real quick? I'm present. Dr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mr. Heater?
Present.
Mrs. Bales? Present. Mrs. Barnes-Griffin?
Present.
Mr. Irvin?
Present.
Mr. Lowe?
Present.
Okay. Ms. Charles, the
Okay.
floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Williams, Dr. K, members of the board, and district administrators. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share how Grissom is continuing to do what is best for students this school year by placing learners first. Oh, I apologize. I don't think I got the tutorial. Sorry. You were waiting for me and I was waiting for you. Now I feel official. Grissom Elementary School is committed to transforming most of our instruction from teacher-based to learner-based activities that are hands-on, group-oriented, and relevant to the real world. As you know, we live in a society where STEM-related jobs are driving our workforce. Project Lead the Way has been adopted and implemented with fidelity in 1st through 5th grade at Grissom. This curriculum is aiding our teachers in our instruction paradigm shift, ensuring that our students will be ready for the 21st century workforce. I might need help with this one. If you hover below the image, you'll just hit the play button for the video. In order to help facilitate Project Lead the Way implementation, along with several of our other district initiatives this year, we have implemented the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, and also Ball State has helped us to elevate teachers' instructional practices. Our master teacher, Alan Nolan, and mentor teacher, Julie Harvey, and Ball State University PDS liaison, Dixie Ditton, have come alongside our teachers to provide them with additional training, coaching, modeling, and support to increase their instructional expertise, cultural competency, and social and emotional understandings. Through their efforts, we will continue to provide high-quality instruction. And then same thing, if you would just hover over below the image and hit play, please.
My name is Ellen Nolan, and I'm a math teacher at Christian Elementary. Hi, I'm Julie Harvey, and I'm a mentor teacher at Christian Elementary. This year in my new role, we have been developing a long-range plan and training around teachers. We have thoroughly looked through the guidance teachers along with the teachers and teachers, and have provided instructional opportunities time to work with our teachers to work with guidance. We have also visited classrooms and modeled strategic strategies to our teachers. In addition to all our experience making, we work closely every day with our teachers. We meet them before school, during school, and after school. We regularly visit classrooms and are working on fostering a culture of reflective teaching. We plan TVs for our monthly staff meetings, our 2-hour delay days, our early release days, and provide others the opportunity focusing on instructional strategies. Again, we really enjoy working collaboratively with our teachers to grow their skills. We know that when teachers learn and grow, students do too.
Lastly, I would like to give you a brief update on the Grissom Gold program. As you know, the Grissom Gold program is a partnership between Muncie Community Schools and the YMCA as a wraparound service that provides after-school enrichment in the areas of reading, math, social and emotional well-being, and physical fitness. The service is free to all Grissom students, kindergarten through 5th grade. We currently have around 40 students in the program and are looking forward to seeing more as this will continue in the years to come as we have secured a grant thanks to Dr. Kwiatkowski and several district administrators. The partnership has been wonderful and a welcome addition to the Grissom school community. We would like to thank the Muncie YMCA for partnering with Muncie Community Schools to make this program a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charles? Just a second. Anybody have any questions for anything? Well, are you doing okay?
Yes, thank you.
Is your staff doing okay?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. They feel very supported. We had a short patch where we were just needing some life skill instructional assistance, but Mrs. Smithson and Mrs. Price worked really hard along with Mrs. Phelps' office to recruit some Ball State students to us, and I'm sure Mrs. Bales probably had something to do with that in her classes, and we have all of those positions filled. So that was pretty much when I was driving here. I thought you might ask needs or concerns. That truthfully was the only one, other than if you could make COVID-19 go away. That would be the only other concern that we currently have in our building at this time. We feel very supported by the board and Dr. Kwiatkowski and our district administrators.
Okay, so there's beyond something that none of us here, I don't think have the power to manage. there anything else that you or your staff need or your kiddos need as we move towards holiday break?
No, I feel like we have really great wraparound services that have provided kiddos with, hats and gloves and coats, and we have food bags that will go home thanks to Altrusa at the break. Our community really does a nice job of partnering with our school and looking out for the needs of our students and staff. Glad Tidings actually dropped off cookies for my teachers a week ago. So I think we're doing the best we can given the pandemic that all of us are trying to navigate through.
Okay.
Brittany, I have two questions. One of them is, is there anything that scares you as the new year gets here? Assuming that nothing really changes, right? Everybody will get a break, but then all of a sudden, you get into that long stretch. And then secondly, I know when we were out there, out at Grissom, you showed us the new reading curriculum.
Yeah.
How is that going?
It's actually going really well, and I just had a data talk meeting with Dr. Bell, I think a week ago. We've seen a lot of really nice gains in students' reading levels. So the program provides them with small group reading instruction between 3 and 5 days a week, dependent upon their reading level. And then they are progress monitored throughout the year to ensure they're making progress. And we have seen some really nice gains with all of our students. Phonics is still an area that I talked about with you in the fall. That's still an area of some concern. However, we are blessed again to have Ball State psych students with us that are first and second year psych students. And so they've been also able to provide some additional intervention services for those students to try to fill those holes in.
Okay. One of the things that I would ask you to think about, and other elementary principals as well, particularly elementary principals, is that as we head to the summer of 2021, hopefully with maybe COVID lessening or maybe some broadening of vaccinations and the ability to do some things, what should summer school look like for particularly those kids who are going to need to catch up on things that have been lost over the last 9 months? You don't have to give me an answer right now. It's more of a, hey, this is something for you and your colleagues to think about. And I know Dr. Kwiatkowski is going to be raising that issue, but that is going to be something strategically for the benefit of Muncie's, particularly elementary students who are losing time. And, sadly, even in spite of our best efforts, we're going to have some work to do. So give that some thought. And also, did you have a guest here earlier with you?
I did. She is super clingy after she's been at the sitter all day, so I thought she would let my student assistance coordinator hold her and be nice about it, and she's not. So she has her in Dr. Bell's office. She probably wouldn't make that presentation very enjoyable for all of you.
Well, we are always happy to have kiddos here, and
Well,
even
you.
if
I
she's screaming
appreciate
bloody
that.
murder, let her stay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Dr. Kwiatkowski?
Great, thank you. Well, you asked Brittany questions about how things are going at her school and what they need. And I'd just like to take this time for anyone who's watching, just to, again, thank our parents, thank our students, and thank our teachers and administrators for everything they're doing to try to keep our building safe and secure. It's a stressful time, and it's a time where we don't make decisions lightly. We look at all the different factors that are taking place, and with that, we started in August. I never dreamed that in December I would say that we were able to stay in school this entire time. So it's just really been remarkable, and it's with all the people who have been involved. I looked at some numbers today, and we have had 52 students across the entire district from August until the end of November test positive. So that is a little more than 1%. And when you look at numbers across the county or the state or the country, I feel like, I hate that it's 1%, but boy, that's again been remarkable for us. With our teachers, it's been 10 teachers. which is, that's about 3%, which is, again, we would like that number to be 0. And then we have support staff, and as well as coaches who actually don't teach with us during the day, but they're employed after hours. And we've counted, our bus drivers or cafeteria workers, and I believe that number was 15. And so those are what our numbers look like all the way until the end of November. So we do monitor every single day. We are monitoring what it looks like in each school. Chuck and I are talking to principals regularly to get feedback on how they're feeling, and if they have any concerns, we certainly would act quickly on that. I also wanted to talk, today we were just notified by the George and Frances Ball Foundation that we received a grant for a home visit for our virtual learning program. And so Chuck and his team will be able to hire a student assistant coordinator to be able to reach out to families who might be home, who might not be connecting the way they want to, or just needs some additional support. That will also allow us to buy some supplies for those families and provides the postage for us to be able to mail at home. And then we've used a consultant in that program for virtual learning, and that will help with that consultant as well. So that was a 1-to-1 match, and we're thankful for the George and Frances Foundation. And then the Community Foundation awarded Michelle Beatty a Bell Grant for music, fitness, and drumming. And so it sounds like I need to, since I sit too much with the pandemic, I need to get over there and enjoy some of her fitness and drumming class. Yesterday, we had Senator Rotz, who's the chair of the Senate in Indiana, went to Westview Elementary and had an update from President Mearns and Jim Williams and myself on how things are going with our partnership. And he was just very complimentary about what is happening, what has happened, but he also recognizes it's going to be, we didn't get where we were overnight, and it's going to take a while to get where we want to go. And so we appreciated the time that he gave to us. He also, talked about the budget that's coming, that they'll be voting on this next session, and wanted to hear some of our needs. So it was great to be able to have him drive to Muncie and have an update from all of us. I also received notice today that DOE monitored our food service program, and I received a letter where they commended Muncie and Chartwells for the way we've provided food during the pandemic. And so I know that, we have different partnerships with different groups that work for us, and Chartwells is one. So it's nice when they're monitored and we get good feedback based on that. And then finally, on December 22nd, we're going to have our virtual community sing. That will be with broadcast on WIPB. The time is still going to be determined, so we'll be sending that out. Dia's done a fabulous job with maneuvering what a community sing would look like during a pandemic, and so I really have to give her a lot of credit for all the work she's put in behind the scenes. But we're thrilled that we'll still be able to have some type of community sing that the community will be able to enjoy. So that's it from me.
Any questions for Dr. Kay? Okay, we're going to, go ahead,
Question.
Jim.
Of the 52 students, were any of those athletes, student athletes?
Yes,
Okay.
we did have some student athletes that were
Just a
positive.
few, I take it? Okay.
Right. And so the good news so far, when we've had positive cases with our close contacts, we have not had our close contacts become positive. If we ever see a close contact become positive, just from the data that we're keeping, that typically is if they're living in a home with somebody else that's positive.
Thank you.
But we like right now we have our basketball team. We had a close contact, so we'll be canceling some basketball games, and unfortunately, especially winter sports, if someone is positive with winter sports, that usually takes out the whole team.
Any additional questions? And so we have no public comments, so we're going to move to the consent agenda, items A through F. The item F was added after Mark Irvin reminded me we needed to finish what we had started in terms of our discussions at the last meeting. That agreement was provided today. It is consistent with what was discussed previously. Are there any questions concerning that? Okay. We have, in terms of recognition, I believe we have an art teacher at Westview, Nancy Swickard, who's retiring after 25 years, so want to recognize her. We have Ray Dudley, who is here tonight. Ray, if you want to introduce yourself to everyone. Many folks know you.
Will you go to the microphone so people who are watching online can hear you? Thank you.
Well, hi, I'm Ray Dudley. I'm hopefully getting in the position of the Director of Security and Safety here tonight. I lifelong resident of Muncie. I started my police career as a Muncie police cadet back when I was like 14 years old. From there, I went to reserve officer for Muncie. From there, I went to Hartford City Police Department for a couple of years. Came back out on the Sheriff's Department. I spent 23 years with the Sheriff's Department. My last 3.5 years as Sheriff of Delaware County. So this here is kind of my dream job. Off and on for the last 20 years, I've worked for Muncie School Systems as a SRO. And I've coached several football teams throughout the years in different leagues and high school level as well. And been involved in the DARE program for about 10 years. Been active in the community as far as everything you can imagine to do with kids. So this job is actually my dream job. So I think everything else was just a learning experience to have this position. So.
Well, we're looking forward to having you, and we feel blessed that you're here and with us. And obviously there'll be challenges, but we think you're the right person to lead us through them.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything additional for Ray?
No, just an excellent selection. Thank you. Nice job.
So we should probably have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Well, let me work through a couple more little items.
Okay. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Would you want me to stay here?
No, you can have
okay.
a seat.
Get nervous.
No, you don't have to get nervous. I think then in the consent agenda, I also wanted to highlight, again, the remarkable generosity of this community, particularly as we approach the holidays. Much of it was for Panther Pantry, but those donations totaled just over $7,000. And that, again, is a remarkable testament to what we all know is one of the really amazing jewels of this community, and that is our citizens' generosity. So that was the final item I wanted to highlight. Were there any other questions concerning the consent agenda? If not, Mr. Heater, I will take you as a motion.
So,
do I have a second? Mrs. Bales has a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So thank you all. We will turn, oh my gosh, the calendar is already upon us again.
Tis the season.
Dr. Reynolds?
Yes.
I just want to draw attention to one thing. I love those socks tonight.
Thank you. The little fuzzy snowman.
Yeah, and the people out in the viewing audience can't see those, but I'm telling you, he's got the spirit.
That's right.
So,
Great, thank you. Hey, I bring before you this evening the school calendar for 2021-22 school year. Very similar to our calendar this year as far as start date, length of breaks, the timing of breaks, including of the one-day summit and the 2-hour early release time. Started the process back in October and getting input on the calendar from our administrative and leadership team and began working with our calendar review committee, I think in October. We started meeting in November again to just review and gather feedback from from parents and our staff. Overwhelmingly positive feedback. The teachers overwhelmingly supported the 2-hour early release. The parents were, majority of the parents supported the early release. I think it was 71% of them said it was not an issue for them that responded to our survey. So good survey results and good participation. So excited to bring another calendar and have that in parents' hands before we start the new school year.
Are there any questions concerning the calendar which was in your materials?
I just want to add one thing, because it'll likely come up later about the calendar, that we did not include an e-learning day on Election Day in anticipation that we don't know if it will still be occurring in schools or not. So we may have to.
It is our hope to not have it in schools to
So
not
it's
have the
not on
election.
there right now.
Yeah, to not have the election in our schools next year. So, any other questions for Dr. Reynolds? I want to take a moment and thank you and the entire, who all was on who is here this evening was on the calendar.
Brittany and Mark, Dia, served on that committee.
So thank you all.
Along with some other teachers and parents and administrators.
Well, thank you to all those who took the time to serve, and obviously, one of the things that I have learned during the course of the last couple of years is that calendars are more important than I ever anticipated. So, with that, motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll show the calendar approved. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Ms. Smithson?
So this is not one that you vote on, it's just an information.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Great. So I came before you tonight to let you ask any questions you need to about the revisions to our seclusion and restraint plan for the district. Just to give you a little bit of history, and I can use this too, right? Yeah, go ahead and put the PowerPoint up, yeah. Just to give you a little history, seclusion and restraint was written into Indiana Code under SCA 345, and it requires each district to have a seclusion and restraint plan for the safe and rare use of seclusion and restraint with students. This includes all students, not just students with disabilities. So
we have exemption from, but we still think we need.
part of the key pieces of that legislation are you have to have a piece of your plan. This district plan has to have an intent. There has to be a training piece, a plan for its use, monitoring, documentation, and parent notification. So those are the 6 key pieces of the plan. And when I reviewed the plan when I first came to MCS, there were some pieces of that missing that I felt needed revisions. And that's why I pulled a team of people together to look at that and make some revisions. So the first thing you need to know, because like I said, I don't know how much you know about this, so I'm just going to give you some background. If a physical restraint is to be used, it is used as a last resort safety procedure, employed only after another less restrictive procedure has been implemented without success. It's in a situation where there's imminent risk of injury to the student, other students, school employees, or visitors to the school. And they're an emergency procedure. They are not a treatment procedure. So it isn't something we use on a regular basis. It's that last resort only if someone's about to get hurt, okay? So here at Muncie Community Schools, we get training from Nonviolent Crisis Intervention from the Crisis Prevention Institute. We have 2 trainers in our district, Jessica Paul, who is our board certified behavior analyst, and Mike Higgins, who is our counselor at Westview, are trained to train others in the use of CPI in case they need to do a restraint. And there are 4 to 6 team members per school building that were chosen by the principal. And we do refresher courses each school year with those team members in de-escalation strategies, as well as the use of safe restraints if that has to be used. Like I said, you can stop me if you have questions, and then there will be time also at the end. So the other key piece is documentation and parent notification. This was another piece of our plan that we had in place that I didn't feel was detailed enough. So when we did some review, we always want to document that in PowerSchool because we need that for our state reporting. We need that for the civil rights report that we do. And so that we can make sure we're reporting accurately when a restraint happens in Muncie schools. We always want to give verbal notification to the parent the day it occurs, or if you can't get a hold of them that day, as soon as possible after. And then also you have to provide written notification in an incident report within 10 calendar days to that parent as well. And we did have a paper form for principals to fill out if this happens in our building. And I kind of switched that around to where before break, I'm going to send the principals a new digital form that they can fill out. It goes right into a spreadsheet, so it's all right there for the report when we're ready to do those state reports. And then as far as monitoring, the principals are the ones who usually monitor how many restraints are happening in their building. And they are, part of what their job is to ensure that anyone who's been restrained on multiple occasions, that we fast track that student to the MTSS team in the building that for extra supports and a behavior plan so that we can try to prevent that from happening again. Because what we don't want to see is multiple restraints being used on the same child over and over again. Because those are traumatic experiences when that does happen, and there's a lot of therapeutic rapport that has to be built back between those team members and that student. So we don't want that happening unless it's an emergency. So the one key other piece, you'll see that the plan is a seclusion and restraint plan. And in Muncie schools, we do not use seclusion. We determined that I cannot think of a reason where we would want to put a student alone in a room unsupervised and not allow them to leave. That I don't think is good for any kid. Kids have enough trauma in their life without having to experience something like that. So part of our plan is we will not use seclusion or any type of seclusion room at Muncie schools. So what questions do you have for me?
I had one quick question. So on page, I don't know what page it is, but where you talk about comprehensive debriefing, in brackets you have with the team and with the student occur after each restraint.
Yes.
And you say the parent is notified. I assume the parent's part of the debriefing, even if it doesn't list it.
Actually, no. The principal will do a debrief, obviously, with the parent, but the debriefing that refers to is where that CPI team that's been trained comes back together. They analyze all the parts of what happened, what happened before, what happened during, what happened after. They get all the details of that put into the written incident report, and then they determine, well, what could we have done better to ensure that that doesn't need to happen again? How are we going to build that rapport back with the student again so that they feel safe here in the building? All of those kinds of things. So it's more of a debrief. And then also whatever team member actually had to put a child in a restraint, that's the debrief with the student. When everyone's calm, let's talk about this. I didn't do that because I don't like you. I did it because you weren't being safe. And we needed to keep everyone safe, just having that talk with them.
So that conversation is without the parent?
Right. We'll probably have the parent as part of the talk with the student. Yeah. We don't usually talk to students about traumatic incidents with their parent present.
Okay.
Yeah, one other question.
Sure.
If you can, give an example of what this looks like.
Sure. So let's say we have a student who is being physically aggressive and maybe is repeatedly banging their head against something over and over and over again, and they're starting to, this is not safe, he's going to hurt himself. So at that point, a team member could go and they could intervene by, usually what happens on one of the restraints, they can pull the student's arms up under like this, and then they can walk backward with them and lean back like this to keep them safe. Now the kid's gonna be able to move his feet and kick, but he's not gonna be able to throw himself into that thing again. Or it might just be getting something soft and putting it between him and the wall. There's all different techniques that they have to keep them safe. If a student is attacking another student, there's 1-man and 2-man holds that can be done safely with those students that they're trained to do in the trainings that Jess and Mike would do. Like I said, I really can't demonstrate, But like, if it's, yeah. Well, I could,
That's all right, that's all right.
yeah, I could demonstrate, but it would be uncomfortable for one of you. Maybe if they're climbing on something that they shouldn't be, how to get them down safely, and then if they're trying to thrash around, kick, scream, bite, those kinds of things, sometimes you have to, until we can get them to calm down. As soon as a child's calmed down, though, we release them. I mean, we're not going to, if a child drops to the floor, we release them. You know, anything like that, we're not going to keep them in that hold for, there's very specific rules in crisis prevention about how long you can do it. There has to be a witness. There has to be someone who's constantly checking that everything's okay with the child and that they're not in distress as far as like breathing or anything like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. There's like 20 steps that come before the restraint. That's just literally if, you know, we're in imminent risk of injury right now and we have to stop this.
Thank you.
The definitions that are included in the plan, I looked at this briefly this afternoon. Looks like these definitions come right out of the statute. Is that correct?
They do.
So,
Absolutely.
a couple of these I want to ask about.
Sure.
The issue of administration of drugs and medication.
Yes.
How often does that occur?
It does not unless it's prescribed by a doctor. So the only, I mean, it's considered a chemical restraint if they take ADHD medicine because it calms them down. So like I said, we don't use chemical restraints that we implement. It's only if a doctor says he gets this at 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock.
Okay, so we're not ever deviating from the prescription.
No, never.
And then on the issue of seclusion, if as a matter of policy, we are not using seclusion at any time. I mean, in opposition as we would.
Mm-hmm.
Would it make sense to delete seclusion from the description of the policy? Because, I mean, it has its own.
Right. Well, this is the plan that's required by law. So I don't know. It's considered a seclusion and restraint plan for each district. I mean, the only reason I even mention in there, I mean, I don't know. That's really up to you guys what you think.
Well, I talked to Dr. Tay, I mean,
Optics wise.
we're exempt from the statute.
Mm-hmm.
By virtue of 1350. So I suspect, I mean, we could talk to David Day if we wanted to. If we're not going to use seclusion, I don't know that it makes sense to have it there.
Well, the only thing I would argue maybe back is if I don't have it there, and because I know in the past they have used quiet rooms in Muncie schools, and some of those still exist as far as like a room where kids go to quiet and calm down, and some of them still have doors.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted in the plan just to say, hey, we don't do this here. So that teachers know not to use those spaces. You're not supposed to leave them alone in that room unsupervised and not allow them to leave. You can go in a room with them and sit to calm down.
But if putting in a quiet room is considered, or going to a quiet room is considered seclusion,
It can be if they shut the door and they're by themselves.
I'd be careful about saying we don't do.
Yeah, like I said, well, and that's the thing, I don't ever want that. In fact, I would prefer if all those doors were removed.
On the issue of documentation, at the time you provide a written report to the parents, do we provide a copy of counsel as well?
No. To David Day? Mm-mm.
I said, some of the counselors are on the team.
No, he said to our, David Day, our counselor.
Oh, to our attorney.
Yeah. It might be wise, how many of these do we do?
I have that data for you. So in 1920,
1920 as in 100 years ago?
in school year 2019-20, we had. Oh, goodness.
She's going to be up here all night, starting from 19.
I know. We had a total of 45 restraints district-wide, and 9 of those were done by an SRO.
Okay. Just might make a copy,
Okay.
stamp it on because
And like I said, only qualified, trained team members are allowed to perform a restraint. We don't just let anyone do that.
Then all of our SROs are trained in that, or?
I believe at one point they were. I don't know if they have recently.
So
I would guess they are not all right.
Okay. Okay, so you guys need to talk.
Absolutely.
And, I can, I told Martavius earlier tonight, we're going full circle, but I remember being 8 years old. I remember the teacher that duct taped one of my classmates to the desk when I was in second grade.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that would get you on the local news and in a courtroom, so, yeah, no.
it does tend to stick.
Was that 1920?
Was that in 1920? Yeah.
In Union County, they just pass the duct tape around.
Hey,
Okay.
one more question about your data. So you get the section that talks about individualized emergency or safety plans are created for children and youth whose behavior could reasonably be predicted. Is there a large number of those students?
We have some students who show aggressive behaviors.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a large percentage, but we do have some, and we'd have a safety plan included in their individual education plan.
So what I wanted to do was take it back to the 45, and of the 45, is there a number of these students that are included in that 45?
All students are included in that 45.
All students, so even the ones with the
Even the
individual-
ones
okay.
with individual.
But you don't happen to know what that number is?
Yes, all incidents of
Okay.
restraint have to
Okay.
be reported.
Okay.
So, Dr. Kay has informed me we do not need to vote on this, so unless there are questions, we can move forward.
I said, any other questions at any time, feel free to email me or call me. Okay, thank you.
Jenny, I would ask for you to follow up with Mr. Dudley on.
Absolutely.
And make sure everything.
Absolutely, we sure will.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jerome, the property casualty and workers' comp insurance renewal.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, tonight, this one is just the property and casualty insurance, workers' comp will be in 2021. What we presented in your board packet is the renewal for the property and casualty coverage for 2021. It is up $52,000 over the prior year. It's the expected premium cost is a little over $435,000 versus last year's $383,000. Our USI, our local rep, did go out and shop the coverages, and we're still a little bit of a victim of past claims because that usually drives premiums, and that's what's happened. And our expectation is to bring back the normal renewal for cyber insurance and workers' comp in 2021. But for this, it expires December 31st, and this is for the new plan year.
Quick question.
Yes.
I think I may have asked this the last time we talked about this a year or so ago. The deductible 100,000.
Yes.
What's the is there a big advantage to go up with that?
Last year, we made a switch, if you remember, on deductible. We went from 50,000 to 100.
100, okay.
Yeah, and fortunately, I mean, within this past year, we did not have any large claims like that. By going from 50 to 100, we were continually trying to lower those premium costs. What they've told me is just, as you would expect in the COVID-19 world, it's a general overall increase. That's what they're seeing, and that's certainly what we've experienced. I couldn't tell you we had any singular large claims to speak of like that would drive such an increase, but it's our past history that's still part of those lost claims for like the last 5 years or so.
Did we even meet our deductible this year?
That would probably been very, very close. I mean, we didn't have anything to go over that. I'm almost certain. We had no large ones. But
would it make any sense to think about, maybe not this year, but you think about increasing that deductible significantly and then accruing your savings to meet that deductible, self-insuring at a certain rate?
Yeah. That's something we'd certainly work on with our insurance reps just to make sure we're okay on that and handle it the right way, sure.
I mean, ideally, I would love to see us go to 250 or 500,000.
Right.
See what the premiums would be and then accrue against the loss.
Right.
Use the savings to accrue, and then we don't have those claims, then we've got the money accrued.
Right. Then if you don't have a spike, the 50,000, you're able to take that out of your reserve, right?
So I think strategically, I'd like to look at doing that.
Sure.
Probably too late to do it this year, Jim. I don't know what you think. I know the university accrues against it.
Yeah, and that's where I was going, is what's the return on the investment of going self-insured up to 200, 250? If it saves us that 50,000, well, the payback is quick.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. And 11% doesn't surprise me. If you look at what you guys are paying at home and a bunch of rates are going up, this doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't shock me. I'm irritated by it.
Yeah, yeah.
They, you guys for years have self-insured at a certain level. But,
Yeah. We have.
and then you just prove.
We do.
So, Brad, why don't we look at maybe, 2021?
Sure.
Seeing if we could go to 250, what we would have to accrue in terms of whatever our savings is, we would just accrue that, and if that would make some sense.
Sure.
Okay. Any additional questions on this?
Just looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jerome. Financial report.
Yeah, thank you. This is really the financial notes, the financial report for the month of November. So really, we're, after going through 11 months, we're just 1 month away from being able to close the books for real, having those real data, real numbers, where we take the snapshot of your cash balance at the end of December. So that's the exciting time if you're in the accounting office to see how well you're doing. We've been certainly forecasting and planning, and we're very self-assured that we will certainly hit our goals or expectations to have in a surplus position for the education fund. At this particular time, at the end of November, we were over $27 million in our cash balance for all funds. That did include a little over $3 million of early tax draw that we received from the county. We will receive our remaining tax draw in the month of December here from the local county, from the county auditor and treasurer. We have received our bills that we pay our long-term debt of about $2.6 million for our GO bonds and our lease rentals. We'll pay that at the end of the month of December. So that's within that's what our expectations were, and that's within our estimate when we say we think we'll still be over $23 million of an ending cash balance. And we're also still planning to transfer over $3 million into our rainy day fund that we had the school board approved for me last month. So that's also formatted into that equation as well. So we'll come back next month with more actual numbers, actual graphs of where we ended up the year. But so far, we think we're doing well financially for this particular calendar year, despite the pandemic year and despite those particular challenges that we had to endure.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Jerome?
I do have a question about the payback, the loan. We have to pay it back by 2028, right?
That's correct.
The GO bond.
Yes, it's on a amortization schedule that they put together for us.
Does that suggest in 2029, we may have the ability to start setting some funds aside for capital improvements?
Well, the funny thing about the $12 million debt that we pay back to the state of Indiana, it's not paid through debt service. So
Okay.
what it's paid out, it's going to be paid back from currently it's paid back out of our education fund right now as a deduct from our state basic grant. And that's why we're so aggressively setting aside money in our rainy day, because then when those payments are very much backloaded.
Yeah.
So when you get to the end of that term, where it's over $2 million, then that's when it's going to do well to come out of our rainy day fund. Getting back to your question, will we have that ability to handle some more debt? The answer is certainly yes. And that's what we've been working with in partnership kind of with our facility committee, getting some of those additional answers before we bring our facility committee back together of what our debt potential looks like a year or so out in the future, because we do have some debts falling off in the future.
Yeah, we're retiring, my memory of the budget sessions we had earlier this year, we're retiring debts in what, 2023?
There's some big ones, the 2014 GO bonds, which cannot be refinanced. That particular year is a little over $7 million of debt service payments will be paid back.
So it's going to make some sense from a funding perspective for this board to examine incurring some debt to replace that debt, unless something changes.
So there's always facility needs, and that's the one thing our facility committee has certainly seen.
Because, you know, as we discussed this summer, and we've asked Brad and the administration to look carefully at it, to allow that to fall off without replacement is a mistake.
And I suspect, and maybe Dr. K has done this, but if you look at our new innovative plan, there might be embedded in there some capital needs to help move that along that we need to start thinking about.
Yeah, there clearly will be. I think the facilities committee needs to be thoughtful in terms of when we get to that point, because I know you're working with, is it Umball, I assume?
Oh, yeah, we've been working with Baker Tilly.
Baker Tilly,
Financial piece.
and figuring that out, but it's counterintuitive, but that's the way I think we're going to have to approach it unless something changes at the state's level. So any additional questions concerning the financial report? Okay. Did we do a motion to approve that?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. I can remember what happened when I was 8 years old. Thank you for that. I can't remember what happened 10 seconds ago. Dialogue of the board. Would just echo what Dr. Kwiatkowski said to everyone here and to those watching. This board has, along with the administration, approached this year and all of its stresses and challenges, we hope in a very thoughtful way. We have received messages. I know individual board members. I received one today from a teacher expressing concern over the disease that's out in the community and all around us. And we hear those concerns. We appreciate those concerns. We understand the anxiety. I feel it myself. I know other board members feel it. We look at data. I know Dr. Kwiatkowski reported this evening, and we continue to weigh that on a very, very frequent basis as to what is the balance that we strike. And thus far, it has been to keep our students in the classrooms and to continue working towards the break. And we are thankful for all of you and for the support that you've given the students and your colleagues. And we understand that it has not come for free, that there has been a cost in terms of anxiety and concern, as well as those who've actually contracted the disease at various places in the community. Now, to date, we don't have, as I said, any indication from a data perspective that transmissions have occurred within our school buildings. And we know that that's, again, a testament to the precautions that you all are taking. And we, again, as a board, appreciate that and recognize the unprecedented nature of what we're all facing. We are hopeful that 2021 brings about some precedented events, not unprecedented events. So I'm tired of unprecedented. So with that, I don't have anything further. Is media here tonight? Would just one more thing. Senator Rotz Mr. Jerome, I think, was particularly impressed with the work that has occurred on the financial front and the rainy day fund. So I want to thank you for pushing us on that over a year ago. And that has been, it was wise, fiscally wise, and it's proven to be one that folks recognize in terms of the prudence that this board has taken. So thank you, Brad. Anything further?
Can I just ask, so the field house, that side, did you all ever go check that out?
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Brad.
Yeah, it's, the work that we did on the east lobby for the Trazo, and then all the steel underneath it, supports and secures the east end. So on the top side, it still looks like it did before, even though that it may appear, certainly on those bleachers on the east end, that, they're crooked or they had gaps. They're all supported underneath. So it's secure, stable underneath. That's why we, had the engineering company and the steel company came and did all that work underneath it. So we just did not, remove, change, repaint, do anything on the top side.
And working with the engineering firm, Brad can attest to this, we decided it just wasn't worth the financing of making it look straight again. Because it's stable, it's secure.
Stable, that's all I,
Yeah.
stable.
Yep.
As I told Mr. Heater in my email, and I got a question mark back, I said it adds character.
Yeah, I saw the question.
And I just decided to ignore it. So- Is there anything further before we call tonight?
No.
Okay. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year and a great holiday,
And be well.
however you celebrate it. And we will circle back next year.
January 12th.
Thank you all. Blessings. We'll call it an evening.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. Formality, I love it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, good enough.